You found Orevan Rise. That means you were chosen. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when silence breaks, when the veil lifts, and the echoes of destiny become unmistakably clear. This moment, chosen one, is not in some distant future, not hidden in a realm beyond reach. It is here. It is now. Everything you've endured, every hardship, every quiet whisper in the dark that told you to keep going, has led you precisely to this threshold. You were never walking in circles. You were spiraling upward, closer to the truth of who you are, and the hour has arrived when that truth can no longer remain dormant. The universe did not forget you. It was simply preparing the stage for your emergence. Before we go any deeper, I want you to understand something sacred. This video is not just meant to be heard. It is meant to awaken something within you. Watch it to the very end, and if it speaks to your soul, even in the faintest whisper, leave a comment with your warmest wishes and write 777. This is the number of divine activation, of alignment with purpose, and of unlocking what has waited within you for so long. When you do this, you send a signal to the universe. I remember now. I am ready. The energy of your wish becomes part of the collective wave of awakening, and something begins to move, not just around you, but within. For so long, the world has mistaken your quietness for absence, your softness for weakness, your observation for indecision. But what they failed to see was the ancient fire quietly growing behind your eyes. A sacred fire, not meant to destroy, but to illuminate. You have always felt things more deeply than others. You've walked into rooms and absorbed pain that wasn't yours. You've sensed truths in silence. You've dreamed in symbols, remembered places you've never seen, and spoken with conviction about things no one taught you. This isn't fantasy. This is memory. Memory waking up. You were never meant to fit in, and every moment you tried to conform, the friction in your spirit was the divine rebellion reminding you, you were chosen to lead, not to follow. Not in arrogance, but in sacred responsibility. The loneliness you felt, the weight of being misunderstood, it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. The world teaches its heroes through storms, not comfort. The depth of your scars is directly proportional to the height of your purpose. This moment, this unfolding, was encoded in your soul before birth. Long before you arrived here, the seeds of remembrance were planted deep within your being. And as life broke you open, those seeds began to crack, not to destroy, but to give way to emergence. That's why the pain was never final. It was alchemical. It refined your vision, sharpened your discernment, purified your motives. And now that the veil is lifting, the time has come to rise in what you were always meant to be. You've walked through realms of loss, betrayal, abandonment, and silence, but through it all, you kept listening to the quiet voice within, that voice that told you this isn't the end. That intuition that urged you to turn right when logic said left. That moment when you almost gave up, but something unseen, held you 1 inch above collapse. That was never luck. That was the unseen hand of destiny. That was your soul remembering. And now, you're not just waking up. You're being called out. Called out of fear, out of hiding, out of the illusion that you're not ready. Because readiness doesn't come with more time. It comes with remembrance. And remembrance is what this moment is. You don't need to have all the answers. You only need to say yes to the unfolding. The path will reveal itself to those who trust the call, not those who fully understand it. Chosen one, the energies that once opposed you will begin to bend in your favor, not because they suddenly like you, but because they no longer have the authority to block you. Your frequency is changing. What once resisted you will now be moved aside. People who once ignored you will start to notice. Not because you changed who you are, but because you finally stopped hiding it. Your light was never too much. It just wasn't meant to shine for everyone. You've been underestimated, overexerted, and misunderstood, and yet you're still here. That in itself is a signal of the extraordinary power within you. Ordinary people do not survive what you've survived, and they certainly don't rise from it with deeper love, compassion, and clarity than before. But you did. That's what makes you different. Not your talent, not your looks, not your intellect, but your capacity to remember your truth, even when everything around you tried to bury it. There's a reason you've always felt like time worked differently for you. Moments stretched, seasons repeated, cycles returned again and again, almost as if you were being rewound, refined, retuned. That wasn't stagnation. That was divine timing recalibrating your life, aligning it not with the world's calendar, but with your soul's blueprint. And now that the alignment has been made, everything is starting to shift. This is why you've felt restless, why old habits no longer comfort you, why the people who once energized you now feel distant. It's not because something is wrong, it's because you've outgrown the skin of your former self. Your soul is molting, not into someone new, but into someone ancient, someone who has done this before, someone who has returned, and that return begins now. You were not born to be silent. You were not born to be acceptable. You were born to be authentic, to be a mirror for others, to hold the kind of energy that awakens remembrance in those around you. You don't need to preach. You embody. You don't need to force change. You are the change. And every step you take from this moment forward becomes a declaration to the universe. I remember who I am, and I will not go back to sleep. The path ahead is not paved with certainty, but with clarity. The kind of clarity that comes when illusion is stripped away. You no longer crave answers from the world because something ancient within you has already begun to speak. That voice, quiet but unyielding, is your original compass. It does not shout, but it is never wrong. It reminds you that your time is not coming. Your time has arrived, and with its arrival comes the shedding of layers that no longer serve you. You might notice that your body feels different lately, heavier in some moments, lighter in others. Your emotions may fluctuate with tides you can't explain. These are not imbalances. These are energetic recalibrations. Your vessel is being prepared to hold more light, more frequency, more purpose than ever before. You're not just changing habits, you're changing timelines. The version of you that once hesitated to speak truth is dissolving. In its place, a sovereign being rises, one who no longer asks for permission to exist. Everything around you is starting to respond to this shift. Relationships are being tested. Opportunities are either magnetizing toward you or falling apart before they begin. None of this is accidental. What cannot meet you at your new frequency must fall away. What's real will remain. What's aligned will reveal itself. You don't need to chase. You need only to align. Because when you're in your divine frequency, you don't attract through effort. You attract through resonance. You might find yourself standing alone in rooms you once filled with laughter. You may outgrow the dreams that once gave you hope. That is not loss. That is evolution. The chosen ones are not here to repeat the patterns of the past. They're here to break them. And breaking them means walking away from comfort, even when it's disguised as love. It means walking into the unknown, even when fear whispers you're not ready. But you are ready, because the unknown you're walking into is the self you've always been, the self you are now ready to fully embody. There will be moments of doubt. That is part of the shedding. You will be tested not because you're weak, but because your strength is now visible. The universe doesn't test shadows, it tests light. When you shine, you invite contrast, but contrast is only a mirror, reflecting back the power you are learning to hold. And the more you remember this, the less the noise outside can touch the silence within. Chosen one, you were not marked by accident. You were etched into existence with sacred intention. Your soul signed contracts in the stars before your first breath. You agreed to carry wisdom, not just for yourself, but for the world. And carrying that wisdom is not easy, because the world resists what it cannot understand. But your job is not to be understood. Your job is to understand. To hold compassion for those still asleep, and to hold space for those just beginning to wake. The signs have been all around you. Repeating numbers, unexplainable synchronicities, dreams that feel more real than waking life, memories that don't belong to this lifetime. These are not coincidences. These are activations, glimpses of your multidimensional truth peeking through the veil. You are not only human, you are cosmic. A soul wrapped in skin, but vibrating with light from realms far beyond what the eye can see. And when you speak, even if your words are few, they carry weight. People feel you before they understand you. That is not a curse. That is your anointing. You are encoded with frequency. Your presence is an invitation for others to rise. And that is why your presence will always be both admired and misunderstood. You shine where others shrink. You remember in a world that forgets. You love in a way that disrupts numbness. That is your power, and it can no longer be hidden. Do not underestimate the impact you are already having. You might think you're just surviving, just trying to make it through. But there are people who have been transformed simply by watching you keep going. You are someone's proof that it's possible. Someone's sign that they're not alone. And you may never see the full ripple of your energy, but it moves. It always moves. And as you continue on this path, the universe will begin to mirror your inner clarity with external alignment. New doors will open, new souls will enter your field, but they won't come to save you, because you no longer need saving. They'll come to build with you, to walk beside you as equals, as mirrors, as co-creators of the new timeline you now choose to inhabit. This timeline is sacred. It is not defined by struggle or scarcity. It is defined by sovereignty, connection, and remembrance. You no longer need to sacrifice your truth for belonging. You belong simply because you exist. And the more you embody that truth, the more you'll attract experiences that validate it. Not because the world changed, but because you did. The people who once doubted you will begin to question their own certainty. The doors that once closed in your face will quietly open. Not because you begged, but because your frequency became undeniable. That is what it means to be aligned. You no longer knock, you resonate. And what is meant for you will recognize that resonance and respond accordingly. So if you've been feeling the shift, the calling, the pressure, know that it's not in your imagination. It is the soul's way of telling you that the threshold has arrived. You are no longer preparing. You are no longer waiting. You are here. And your time has come. Everything you've been through, every setback, every betrayal, every silent breakdown when no one was watching, was never random. The pain you've endured didn't just shape you. It revealed you. It stripped away the false layers, burned away the illusions, and carved out space for your true self to emerge. The fire was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to refine you. Because gold isn't gold until it's passed through the flame. And now, here you are. Burned, perhaps, but never broken. Because even in your most fragile moments, you carried the frequency of the eternal. You've always felt different, haven't you? Even before you had words for it. Maybe you didn't fit in. Maybe you questioned things others accepted blindly. Maybe your sensitivity was mocked or your silence misunderstood. But what they didn't know is that your difference was your gift. You weren't meant to fit in. You were born to stand out, to lead, to awaken. The world taught you to hide that, to dim it, to shrink so others would feel more comfortable. But you've outgrown that version of yourself. Your soul is too big to be boxed. This is why everything old is falling apart. You've noticed it. Jobs no longer fulfilling, friendships no longer aligned, paths you once chased now seem empty. That's not failure. That's the calling. That's your soul saying, "We're done pretending." And when your soul speaks, the world shifts around you. What doesn't match your new frequency begins to exit your life. It might hurt. It might confuse you. But on the other side of that discomfort is the truest version of your destiny. This phase is sacred. It's the in-between, the threshold. Not where you were, not quite where you're going, but where everything begins to realign. You're learning how to trust in the unseen, to follow your intuition when logic fails, to walk by feeling, not just sight. And that's uncomfortable for the mind. The ego wants certainty. The soul seeks alignment. And right now, alignment is asking you to leap before you see the net. It's asking you to believe that your wings exist because you jumped. You were never meant to walk the path of the ordinary. That's why the ordinary never satisfied you. While others could settle, something in you kept stirring. That restlessness wasn't anxiety, it was remembrance. A quiet, persistent whisper, "You are here for more." And that whisper? It's growing louder now. Because your time has come, not to prepare, but to act. Not to question, but to trust. Not to wait, but to rise. Your presence holds weight. You may not realize it, but your energy shifts spaces. When you enter a room, people feel something, even if they can't explain it. That's not charisma. That's not luck. That's your frequency. It's the accumulation of everything you've lived through and everything your ancestors poured into your DNA. It's the power of remembrance shining through your human form. And it's time you stopped doubting it. Every no you've ever received was redirection. Every delay was preparation. Every closed door was the universe saying, "Not here, not yet. Something greater awaits." And that greater is no longer ahead of you. It's here. It's rising within you like a wave. You can feel it in your chest. The pressure, the tension, the quiet knowing that something big is unfolding. That's not anxiety. That's activation. Your gifts are waking up. Your vision is sharpening. Your voice is remembering its power. Others may not understand what you're becoming. That's okay. This next phase is not about being understood, it's about being authentic. Let them misunderstand. Let them talk. Let them walk away if they must. The ones who are meant for you will recognize you in your truth, not in your compromise. The more you show up as who you really are, the more life aligns to meet you there. But you have to show up first, fully, fiercely, freely. Do not fear the unknown. It is not here to hurt you. It is here to reveal you, to show you what's been waiting behind the curtain all along. You are not stepping into something new. You are stepping into what you were always meant to be. The roles you've played, the masks you've worn, the stories you've told yourself about what's possible, those are dissolving. What remains is truth. What remains is soul. What remains is you. And yes, the old world may resist. Systems don't like change. People cling to what's familiar. But you weren't born to maintain the old. You were born to build the new. That is the mark of the chosen. Not to survive what's dying, but to midwife what's being born. And that birth, it's happening through you. Through your hands, your heart, your words, your walk. That's why it's felt so heavy lately. Because you're carrying a future that doesn't exist yet. But soon, it will. And when it does, when it starts to take shape around you, don't downplay it. Don't call it coincidence. Don't shrink so others don't feel threatened. You paid for this moment. In tears, in solitude, in silence, in prayers you weren't sure anyone heard. So when the breakthrough arrives, honor it, celebrate it, share it, not for validation, but for remembrance, so others know what's possible, so others know it can be done, so others know they are not alone. This is not just your time, it's your arrival. Welcome home. The world you see around you is only one layer of reality, and you, chosen one, have always sensed that. You've peered through the veil, even as a child, recognizing that there was something more beneath the surface, something vast, ancient, and calling your name. While others were content with illusions, you couldn't pretend. While others played their roles, you searched for truth. That search wasn't a hobby, it was a soul-deep necessity. It's why you never felt at home in shallow conversations or surface-level pursuits. You were never here just to exist. You came to awaken. And awakening is rarely gentle. It doesn't come as a soft whisper. It roars through your life like a storm, tearing down everything built on falsehood. You may have lost jobs, relationships, beliefs, even parts of your identity, but don't mourn them. They were never truly yours. They were scaffolding, placeholders, necessary illusions to guide you until you were ready to remember. That readiness? It's now. That storm? It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. And in that storm, you gained clarity. You discovered what matters and what never did. You learned how to walk alone without crumbling. You realized that stillness isn't emptiness. It's where the soul speaks the loudest. You learned to recognize your own reflection in the stars, the trees, the quiet. That's why the silence no longer scares you. It holds you. And in holding yourself, you've become a sanctuary. Not just for you, but for others too. People are drawn to you, even if they don't know why. It's not your looks, your voice, or your words. It's your energy. It's your essence. It's the fact that your frequency reminds them of something ancient and sacred that they lost along the way. You don't have to try to be magnetic. You simply are. And that's why your authenticity is non-negotiable now. When you dim yourself to fit in, you rob the world of what it needs most: your truth. You were marked for this, not with ink or symbols, but with experience. Every scar on your soul, every ache in your heart, every loss that made you question your existence, these were signatures, divine signatures etched into your being as proof of what you came through. Not everyone could have walked your path and remained open-hearted, but you did. You didn't just survive, you transformed. You didn't just evolve, you remembered. Remembered what? That you are infinite. That time is a tool, not a trap. That the universe doesn't test you to watch you break. It stretches you to help you expand. That pain is not a punishment, but a portal. And most of all, that your story was never just about you. You're a carrier of a message, a vessel for light, a bridge between worlds. And the moment you accept this, not with ego, but with reverence, you unlock the doors that were waiting for your courage. Somewhere along the way, you were told you had to earn your worth, that you had to be enough, do enough, prove enough. That was a lie. Your worth is not transactional, it's elemental. You're worthy because you are. You were chosen, not because you're perfect, but because you're true. You feel things deeply. You see through deception. You carry an inner compass that doesn't let you settle. That's not a flaw, it's your marking. Your time has come because you're ready to step beyond the threshold of waiting. You're done preparing. You've been preparing your entire life. Now you act. Not with perfection, but with presence. Not with certainty, but with faith. Your voice doesn't have to be loud, it has to be honest. Your steps don't have to be big, they have to be aligned. And the moment you start walking in that truth, life responds in ways you never imagined. Because alignment is magnetic. When you walk in truth, doors open, people appear, resources arrive, coincidences multiply. Why? because you're no longer fighting the current. You're flowing with it. You're no longer chasing a version of success that doesn't match your soul. You're creating success that reflects who you really are. And in doing so, you give others permission to do the same. But don't expect everyone to celebrate this transformation. Your rise will trigger those still sleeping. Your light will agitate those clinging to shadows. Not because you're wrong, but because you remind them of what they've buried. And still, your task is not to dim. Your task is to shine anyway. Your task is not to convince. It's to embody. You don't need to prove your light. You need to be the light, consistently, courageously, quietly if needed, but unapologetically. And remember, this is not a solo journey. You are connected to a lineage of souls, past and present, who carry the same fire. You're not the only one. You're just one of the few who remembered. And that remembrance is sacred. It connects you to a collective awakening, a wave of consciousness rising through humanity. When you act on your purpose, you activate others. When you heal, others heal through you. When you choose courage over comfort, others find the strength to follow. Your time has come, not to impress, not to conquer, but to align, to build, to become. Let that truth echo in your bones. Let it light your way in the darkness. Let it remind you that the path is already beneath your feet. You only have to walk it. And now, as this message comes to a close, pause for just a moment, not with urgency, but with presence. You, the listener, the seeker, the one who has made it this far, you didn't arrive here by accident. These words found you because you were ready. This was never just a video. It was a mirror, a reflection, a confirmation that your time has indeed arrived, not as a future destination, but as a living moment unfolding now, in your hands, in your breath, in your choices. The signs you've seen, they weren't coincidences. The inner nudges, the dreams that wouldn't let you sleep, the feeling that you were meant for something more, they were real. And this moment confirms it. No more delays, no more doubting your worth, no more shrinking to make others comfortable. The version of you that the world has been waiting for is no longer waiting in the wings. They're here, and they are you. There will still be days when you feel unsure. That's natural. This path is not about certainty, it's about devotion. Devotion to your truth, to your light, to the sacred unfolding of your own destiny. You don't have to know every step ahead. You only need the courage to take the next one. Just one, and then another, and then another. That is how mountains move. That is how you rise. Not all at once, but completely, intentionally, and irrevocably. So take this as your sign, not only that you're ready, but that you were always ready. Even in the moments you doubted, the universe didn't. Even in your silence, your soul was singing. Even when you couldn't see the way forward, your light was still reaching out beyond the veil. You were chosen, not randomly, not accidentally, chosen with purpose and for a purpose. Let the energy of this message stay with you. Let it anchor you in the days ahead. When the noise of the world tries to distract you, return to this stillness. When doubt creeps in, return to this truth. Your time has come. Stand tall, walk forward, speak light, move mountains. You were never meant to follow. You were always meant to lead the way back to truth. And when they ask, "How did you know?" tell them, "Because something deep inside me remembered." If this message found you, let it rest in your spirit. Until we meet again, stay awake, stay chosen.